So please welcome Johan Michalove. Michalove, sorry.
Okay, hi, I'm Johan. Today I'm going to talk about a map that I made called FireAid. And I'm a PhD student at Cornell University in the Information Science School. I'm the co-founder of Mutua.nyc and a partner at Zangs, Michalove. And I'm going to talk about this map that I built. It's called FireAid. It's a mutual aid map that maps the crisis in LA and mutual aid resources. It got a bit of press, including an interview mag in Interview Magazine. And I was there before Bill Gates, so that's kind of funny. So let's dive into my notes first, behind the scenes. Yeah, so let's get into it. Los Angeles is burning. I started working on FireAid. So the impetus behind building this map was that I found this spreadsheet made by Milan, the mutual aid network of Los Angeles. And it was a beautiful resource of hundreds and hundreds of mutual aid actions, from shelters to food to where to park your horse at the Rose Bowl Stadium. And it was an amazing resource, but I don't know if you've ever tried using a spreadsheet on your device. It's impossible. And I was thinking about the people that had just lost their home and maybe all they had was a phone in their pocket. And so I thought to myself, maybe we can make a better interface, something more humane. So I started by diving into Claude and just explaining what I wanted to do, and I created what I called a blueprint. So this was essentially an outline of the mission, the goal, the strategy, the operations, the APIs I wanted to use, a comprehensive suite of the whole system that I wanted to build. Kind of like you would do a blueprint for a building, I did this for the website. Then I loaded it into Cursor, and you can actually see up here is a model of a blueprint that I did for a serverless migration plan, which I'll discuss later. But it essentially outlines everything from unit tests to integration tests and rendering, everything that I wanted to do. And then I loaded it into the agent here in agent mode and just got to work on building. So what's it like to build with AI at the speed of feeling? I say it's like riding a motorcycle at 60 miles an hour down a street filled with potholes. You have your machine, you're gunning it towards your destination, but the machine will eat your code, and you probably have that experience building with AI. Sometimes it adds unwanted enhancements. Sometimes it'll just change things, and you have regressions. So every single line of code that I would write, I'd have to go in and check what's the diff, what's the strategy, what's it doing. And as the code got bigger and bigger, it was like leveling up in a computer game where every level became more strategic and more advanced. And I really learned to dance with the AI. So this is what it looked like on day 0. It's a simple map with Mapbox, or leaflet actually, and then a list of all the resources. And we went live on day 0 with it. On day 2, or on day 1, I created a reel, and you can see now we have icons, filtering, and some sharing features. And so this reel went live on Instagram, and within a few days, it had 90K views. So it really resonated with people. And I'll just kind of go through it so you can see what it looked like. I mean, the production quality is really low. I did it in the back of an Uber. So yeah, I think traffic stats are pretty interesting. This is the cumulative stats for the site over the course of 30 days. Maybe, yeah. And you can see most of the traffic we were getting was from Instagram. It's by far like where people are getting their information, where they're sharing resources, and everyone was connecting with us through Instagram. And we had some heavy hitters post the site or post a mutual aid spreadsheet that linked to the site. And so that kind of boosted traffic. So I was also collecting community feedback. And this is a piece of feedback that I got on day one, asking for translation options, because there's a lot of ethnic enclaves in Los Angeles and they were being displaced, especially in Altadena. So I get set to work on building translation. And this is kind of like our commitment to language justice. So we implemented a system that translates it into 17 different languages in real time. And not just the interface, but every single resource card is translated into each of these languages. You might ask how we did it. Well, it was with the OpenAI API and with the Redis key value store. And that allowed us to cache everything. And I only spent $5 on translation costs. So this is the traffic stats for the first day. This is also from my notes. In a day, we reached nearly 15K page views. We reached 10K during dinner. And the last 5K has come in relatively recently. Tremendous. By day 3, we had 60K people on the site. And I don't know exactly how it happened. I think it was virality on social media. I've heard that Ariana Grande posted a link. I can't verify it. I never saw the post. But this is what I call the crisis bump. And I think at the time I was like not even registering that this was happening. I think like I was just deep in building, adding features. I saw it continue to climb and climb, and I could almost feel the people on the site. So on day 4, I realized that I didn't really have experience with cartography, so I reached out to my friend Scott Reinhardt, who is or was the maps person at the New York Times. We sat down and had a really productive design session where we talked about getting rid of the emoji icons and adding colors, adding air quality data, evacuation zones, and essentially making it a more mature map. So this is the final form that the site took. It still looks like this today. It's kind of has some wabi-sabi, like not everything's colored in, but essentially a very usable mobile website built in real time to catch that pulse of people coming through. And you can check it out on your device at FireAid.info. So here are some technical details about how I built it. Again, I was learning on the fly, building in real time, just responding to what the needs were of the community. And then later I talked to a friend at AWS, and he consulted me on how we can make it load faster. And we came up with this backend architecture using static asset hosting, a CloudFront CDN, and S3 bucket. And this is essentially like a much more mature system that like Amazon.com loads this way using the same architecture and the same system. And so right now I'm working on a project to set it up with Terraform, which is a cloud orchestration system that would allow us to spin up a map like this for any crisis. But yeah, I'm happy to talk more about this after the talk. So I'm also a writer, and I want to take you into some of my writing and reflections around this work. Yeah, this is Ridgewood. HQ. I've never felt more hyper-connected and yet alone as I sit at my desk in Ridgewood, Queens. Zoom, Signal, Slack, Discord, iMessage, phone, Telegram. A pastiche of pathways keeps the information flowing my way. I know a lot about what's going on, yet my view is deeply partial and detached. I don't know what it's like to have a go bag packed in 2025, though I know what it's like in 2020. New context, same catastrophe, yet this repetition, this cycling of suffering, seems endless. I thought at first I was just creating a visualization, but what I realize now is that such interventions are architecting the flow of networks of information. That in turn shapes relationships, and which then in turn shapes topologies of trust, the firmament of mutual aid. This was a lesson earned, not without mistakes made and apologies issued. But what is clear to me now is that care, industrial strength, crisis contending care, is a network phenomena. And now I want to talk more about what that is. So I wrote a piece called The Network Theory of Care, Lessons from Los Angeles. I'd highly recommend reading it. Of course. The network theory of care views support and caregiving as a complex, interconnected web, rather than linear exchanges between individuals. Care is a traversal in giving along relational lines. Resilient communities, for instance, fortify the enactment of care by building lines of relation allowing aid to flow. FireAid was a testament to the potential for technological augmentation of patterns of trust. Flattening resources onto a map opened up new lines of sight, patterns of trust, and potential for neighborship not easily rooted in simple proximity. The network theory of care thus offers a new way of thinking about community resilience. Rather than focusing on stockpiles of resources and centralized response systems, it suggests we should invest in strengthening the connective tissue between people. This means building trust in times of stability so that it can be drawn upon in times of crisis. It means creating platforms to make it easier for people to find and help each other. And it means recognizing that care, like water, will find its way through any channel available. Our job is to simply remove the barriers and let it flow. So, thank you so much for listening to my lightning talk. I have a nonprofit, Mutua, a practice, Zangs, Michalove, and a personal site, Michalove Studio. And I'd like to especially plug for ZM, our design practice with Virginia, who's over here somewhere, over there. Yeah, and thank you so much.
You want to take some questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
I have a couple of questions. Where did the original data come from?
So the original, I don't think this is on.
You did great without it.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, it's off.
Okay. Hello. The original data came from Milan, which is the Mutual Aid Los Angeles network. And they're a group of activists and organizers that have an incredibly efficient system, probably the best in the country for collecting mutual aid data. So imagine like a Discord channel filled with not hundreds, but dozens of volunteers that are having conversations with people on social media. Whenever like a post comes up, it trickles through the channels. They vet it, they verify it, they have relationships with the people so that as things change on the ground, they're updating the data. So it's magnificent. I mean, they really do amazing work. And so they were the kind of primary data source, and everyone trusted them immensely. So the database was like an incredibly valuable asset, and the site would have been nothing without them.
And is this repo public?
It's not. There's too many API keys like littered throughout the thing. And as you can tell, there's like dozens of APIs that it's pulling from.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is a non-technical question. I was curious, like, there's like a feeling of a theme of, you can be very connected from your workspace in Ridgewood.
Yeah.
Because I was like, where are you from, LA? Like when you first brought up the project, and then so being that like you were able to accomplish so much, remotely with technology, with all these different things, but you build connections like, remotely and such.
Yeah.
Have you been to LA, or do you feel like a desire to go there and like, meet some of the people or talk to or see the places that,
Yeah.
you've been working on for so long?
Yeah, absolutely. Like it has to happen. Like seeing things from the sky a million miles above across the country, like you get a feeling for the devastation that's occurred, right? Like you saw the image from Altadena that I put in there. And like that's a reality that I can't grapple with in person. Like I have friendships that are there. I lived in Pasadena for a summer doing an internship. So I have a connection, like a deep connection to that place, but also superficial compared to like the people that are actually there. And everyone was wondering like, who is this guy from New York? Like, why is he helping out in California? And it's a really good question. I mean, I just saw an opportunity to help and I stepped in. And, like there was a lot of questions of trust, especially with Milan at first, when they were like, who's this tech bro showing up with this website? And why does he want to work with us? And so like that trust was built very slowly and over time. Yeah.
One, I think this is really cool. So
Thank you.
there. I actually spoke with my boyfriend recently, and I was like, if you have to like shotgun, and like, what would you take with you? Like, what would it be? I think especially in like a moment of emergency, you have that thought. I said I would take my laptop, and then 2 weeks ago, or a week ago, my GPU got shot. So thank God for listening.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting. And like, my one question is like, what was your thought process? Like, you see an option with like spreadsheets. I think everybody in this room understands like, when you go through spreadsheets, you have to like click desktop view on the iPhone, so that way it loads properly. Like, what was your mindset? Like, oh, I have to like step in, and like, this is a really big issue. Like, where did that come in?
I mean, that was like the first kernel of insight that I had, was that it was like inhumane to be navigating these resources on a spreadsheet. Like this is information that people need, and it's like life or death, pretty much. It's like a free meal, Wi-Fi charging, boarding for your animals. And like, if you have to navigate a spreadsheet and try to click on little links and like move it around on your device, because most people didn't have their laptop, like all they had was in their pockets, then it didn't make any sense. It was like the data was almost out of reach. which is even worse to be able to see it and then not be able to search it or access it. So that was why I started the site. Yeah.
You might have touched on this, but like, did you have a ton of experience
I'm sorry.
making maps?
Did I have experience making maps?
Yeah, using like making a map app in any way.
Not really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like your immediate response.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I need a map for this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like this needs a map like right now. Because I actually built the list first.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I want to send it to a friend and get their feedback. And then I was like, wait a second, no, it needs a map. So, I mean, I built with AI for all my stuff, so it guided me through the process, and it was kind of like a mentor in a lot of ways. And then eventually I started talking to people that are like deeply experienced building maps, and then it kind of came together.
Do you think it's something that you have a future in?
Yeah, definitely. Mutua, which is my like nonprofit fiscally sponsored entity, we're building like a number of different maps right now. Yeah. Meredith.
Yeah. Great job. Viv.
Thanks.
Given that the spreadsheet was like community stores, I would assume that the biggest part of a project like this would be data cleaning, but it didn't seem like you had to do much of that given the site was live on day 0. Did Cursor do that for you, or what was that like?
I did an unbelievable amount of data cleaning. I did it myself.
You did it yourself?
Yeah,
Wow.
and like it wasn't just like cleaning rows. It was like because they're not data people at Milan, so they would like move columns around, and like the schema would change every hour, and then they started adding hyperlinks. And when you pull the CSV, the hyperlinks don't work. So eventually, I made contact with them, and I was like, "Please, for the love of God, just put in the naked link, and then we can actually like link stuff out."
Right.
Yeah.
Did you eventually just like duplicate it so they would stop like pulling the rug out?
Yeah, now I have it in a CDN, like in the S3 bucket.
Yeah.
So they actually migrated to Airtable,
Oh yeah.
and they still haven't given me API access to it yet. So, and they're like really under resourced, and it's all like Signal conversations. So yeah, like right now it's kind of more running in an archival state, but hopefully we'll get it back online. Yeah.
Is that the main reason that you moved to AWS?
Why?
To like not have to lean on your data from the Google Sheets?
The main reason that I did AWS, and I have a lot of problems with Amazon, so it's kind of like a bargain with the devil in a lot of ways. But the main reason I used AWS was to be able to get it to load instantly. And so the way that works is it uses a CDN, which is a content delivery network, which is like a set of servers that are like very close to the edge. And you can basically put all your data in a bucket, and then that bucket filters through the cache, and then it loads like really fast. And so the loading time before was like the dots would kind of trickle in, and every time a dot would trickle in, it would like do a call to the geocoding API, and I spent like thousands of dollars out of my own pocket on like API fees, which is like why I set up the nonprofit. Yeah. And like now I'm finally having conversations with Google to like maybe they'll reimburse me for some of that. But having it in the cache like allowed us to like do it once, do it cleanly, format all the data, and then we can set up a Lambda that will like pull from it like every night, for example. So before it was real time, like it would just suck everything in from the sheet every time the page loaded. And that was like instant and very gratifying because the activists were updating the sheet like every minute. And so the site was like completely up to date. But that's not scalable in the same way. Yeah. Oh,
Maybe one more question.
Katya?
How do you see using like the skeleton of this site or the framework of this project that you did and applying it to something that's not necessarily a crisis response, but maybe something that's more like ongoing or like what other maps do you feel like you might make?
Yeah, so there's a couple of maps that I'm making right now. So one site that we have, and this is kind of like our future vision for mutual aid, is called needmatch.net. And it's a map of like needs and offers. So kind of like the FireAid map, but like more distilled down. Like you can imagine it's kind of like a Craigslist for people to help each other. And so you can spatially see like where are people offering different services from. And I'm thinking a lot about the rebuild of Los Angeles right now. And so I'm thinking a lot about like where can I get a contractor for cleanup of my burned house, and like how do I vet and verify that they're going to do a good job, and like what are all the questions of trust that sit beneath a system like this? Like that's all stuff that we have to be able to scale and automate and think through. So that's kind of like where my head is at. And then we're tentatively working on another project in Chicago related to gunshot data. And so that's like a deep systemic issue that needs a lot of care and a lot of thought. And fortunately, our partner has done that. So we're just making a map for it. All right, thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.